After you open ATLAS.ti, you are going to come to this screen, let's call it the welcome screen, where you see on the left side a welcome message to you. You click in there and you will be able to get license information as well as log out and restart. Then below you have an icon to create a new project, to import a project, as well as a number of options to set up your preferences on the project. Then you will see the list of the projects that you have already created, and farther to the right a column for or with news, different news articles that are being published by ATLAS.ti, as well as a few video tutorials that you can watch that will give you a brief introduction to key procedures with ATLAS.ti. So what I would like to do now is create a new project, because that is what you are going to do, right? When you start working with the program. So click once, give a name to the project. Let's call it webinar September the 8th, 2020. And here is where you can write a comment. A comment is, in this case, a brief description of this project. And webinar, of course, is with a B, right? Not with a V. Okay, so I am going to use this project to give an overview of ATLAS.ti 9. Okay? So in your case, you will say this is the analysis project of the following research study, and so on. You can say something about the number of people involved in the analysis project, perhaps something about the objectives of the analysis, and so on. Information that you find useful to have close to you as you engage in the analysis. Create. So now we are inside of the interface of the program, and you see the name of the project on the right side and some other information about the user, about, in this case, about me. After creating the project, what you normally do is add the documents that you are going to analyze. That is, you add the sources of information, the files that you are going to analyze. And for that, take a look on top left. It says add documents. If you place a cursor there, you're going to be able to read a description of that feature. Click there and select add files. So I'm going to go there and I will select a set of files that I want to analyze. As I do that, click on open, those files become the documents of the project. And you will see on the left side there is a panel where it says Explore, and that is where you can see the entire project. Now at this point all we have is 9 documents. So next to documents it says 9. If I click on the triangle next to that, I will see the names of each one of the files that I added, each one of the documents of my project. Double click on the first one, the document will open. The next one is a photograph. The next one is a Word document. You will see the Word document. You will see numbers on the left side. They represent paragraphs. The next one is a video, an audio document. If you double click on documents, and there you have the list of all of the documents of the project. You look at the first one, click on it, you can take a look at it below. What you see below is a preview of it. It's not really where you are going to segment and code that document, but just to know what that is about. And below on the right side it says comment. In this case I'm going to write this is an article by Wikipedia on community health agents in Brazil, right? I am going to create the very first output of this overview webinar. On the very top, I will select Excel export. What do I want this Excel table to include? I only want it to include the document name and its comment, and there are many other options. You will have to play around with this to see what you can get. For example, typically after you have coded the documents, you may include codes so that you know what is it that each one of these individuals is talking about. But in this case, I just want the document name and the comment export. And here you have your very first output. All right. So another thing that you do early in the process is you start thinking about how you can categorize your documents. Can you categorize them according to demographic attributes, according to location of the interview or site of data collection, according to method of data collection, interviews, focus groups, photo voice, and so on. So you have to think about that. So in this case, I have documents that correspond to different sites. Select the ones that have the prefix BR, and that is site BR for Brazil. And I have two that correspond to the site Guatemala. So what do we accomplish by doing this? I will be able to ask ATLAS.ti later on, well, ATLAS.ti, what did people say in regards to topic X? But only those that are interviewed in Guatemala, only those that are interviewed in Brazil. So you will be able to, by creating these document groups, to set the stage for the analysis of the data. And now let's start working with these documents. I'm going to open one of them, which is the PDF document where, in fact, you can see what this is about, right? This is an article by Wikipedia on community health agents in Brazil. So what do? I will start reading and asking myself, what about this do I find interesting? Select a segment. And now I am going to determine what to do with this. They have two choices. One is to attach to this segment a code, and the other one is simply to create a quotation, that is, create a segment, but without coding it. So let's do the first thing, which is apply codes. A window opens up where I will have to type the name of the code. And I will say CHA, and I'm going to write down introduction. I either click on enter on my keyboard or click on the plus sign on the right side, and then you will see that that particular quotation has been coded with the code introduction. Now I'm going to close that, and you will see on the right side of the document a bar, a vertical bar that represents the quotation and a code next to it horizontally. I will double click on that code, a little window opens up, and that is where I am going to write a comment on that code. That is, I will define that code. What does CHA introduction means to me? And I will save that. And also, if you right click on that vertical bar and select edit comment, you are going to be able to write a comment on the quotation, and that is different from a comment on the code. The comment on the quotation is a reflection on the content of the quotation, right? If I double click on the bar, I will see the codes have been linked to that quotation. Applied codes, CHA introduction, and if I click on the minus symbol on the right side of the code will be disconnected from that quotation. I am going to undo that. All right. And now what I will do is I will continue reading, but let's suppose that you find this interesting, this segment interesting, but you don't really know how to code it, right? So you're not really familiarized with this content, and you don't want to attach to it a code, at least not yet. All you want to do is create a free quotation. You see that? A quotation was created, right click on it, edit comment, and write your reflection on this quotation, right? And later on, you can come back to this quotation, apply codes, right? And I'm gonna write down CHA model as well as task. So there you have that quotation that was created without any coding. Many times people like to do that because they don't want to be pushed into coding right away. They just want to have a kind of an open reading of the document, highlight the segments, write their reflections, and later on come back to them and code. So that is something that is unique to ATLAS.ti. Let me go now to another document. This is a Word document. Now, in the case of Word documents, if you take a look on top on the right, you see the option of editing, and that means that you can add text to this document. This is a Wednesday, or this was a Wednesday. Now, I have no idea if it really June the 30th was a Wednesday, 2012, but let's suppose that that's what it was, right? And then you may find here that there is a word that you don't want to have, but rather funding from the Scandinavian, you say, oh, it's a foundation, really, it's not a group, right? So you can edit, you can add text, you can delete text to your Word documents that you have. Exit edit mode. Let me double click on codes. You also have the choice of creating codes in what I refer to as an a priori way. That is, these are codes that you bring into the analysis. They don't necessarily emerge from what you're reading, but you know that you have to, you need to have them because you need to look for that. So for example, on top left, free codes. Free means, well, this code that I'm going to create, it's going to be born not connected to a quotation. Funding processes. I want to explore these interviews and find information on funding processes. That code I just created has a number 0. That means that it has not yet been used. 0. Well, the others, they have been used. That's why they have a number 1, right? Because I created them out of selected segments, as you may remember. So let me go back to this interview. And I say, and by the way, this is also about funding processes. So I can drag and drop from the list on the left side, and now that code will be attached to that particular quotation. All right, let's now take a look at the photograph. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I will select a segment of it. And what is this about? This is about vaccination. Ad. So vaccination, that code has been assigned to this quotation. So here I'm gonna go to a specific location of the video where the lady is showing where they do the vaccinations, so, and where they keep the vaccines. It's somewhere around here. On top right you will see mark position and create quotation. Once I am ready to select the segment, I will click on mark position. Let's start.
Member of the health team, some of whom live in the slum as a condition of working here, shows
now.
Our vaccine campaign is on this room.
Stop.
We move by the messages.
So that is a video quotation.
Our vaccine campaign is on this room.
Perfect. Although perfect, but I think that it should have a little bit less. So I will stop right there instead.
Our vaccine campaign is on this.
Okay, now it's perfect. So there you go. Okay, that is what I wanted, and that is what I will keep. Now, what is this about? This is about vaccination. I can drag and drop the code from the left, or I can double click on the bar. Oh, I'm sorry, right click on that particular bar, apply codes, and select from here the code that I want to apply. All right, so that is a video. The audio, it's exactly the same way. The only difference with the audio is that you don't have an image, right? But it's the same. So I will start.
From VOA Learning English, this is the health report.
Start.
Chocolate. Is it good for our health? Or is it just good?
Stop.
Many
So here we have a audio quotation. I want to double click on it to hear it again. Right click on it.
Just good.
Apply codes, and none of these codes applies. Therefore, I'm gonna create a new one. Is chocolate good? Right? Chocolate good. So I think this question is very relevant, right? For all of us who like chocolate. Add documents, new geographic document. So this is the world map. I'm going to go to query address, and I will navigate to a specific location. I can write down the address. I can write down the name of the location or the name of the point of interest. I can write down the coordinates, or I may navigate to the location with my touchpad or mouse on my computer. I'm gonna write down Hospital da Lagoa, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Okay, so this is a hospital, and here we are in the city of Rio, and I see that the program gave me 3 options. One seems to be a bicycle stop. The second one is the hospital itself. I see the pin on top of the hospital sign. And the third one is a bus stop. I want the hospital. And what will I do here? Well, I would like to code it with the code vaccination. Drag and drop vaccination on top of that little pin, and now that is there. You may wonder, well, you know, I have no interest in having a map in my study. Yes, that could be the case, but just think about the potential of this, right? So let's suppose that you have an interview in which the participant is making reference to a given location, a park, a supermarket, and so on, and talking about it. Well, why not giving yourself the opportunity of having that, the geographic representation of that place in the analysis project? And there you can reflect upon that location and the proximity of that location to other things around it in the neighborhood. So I'm going to right click on that quotation bar, edit comment. I see that the hospital, right, is located next to a church, and so on. So you describe the neighborhood. So that could be interesting, at least potentially enriching, I would say. All right, so those are things that you can do. Now, another thing that you can do is you can create a text document. So you can import or add files you already created, text, graphic, video, audio. You can create a geographic document, but you can also type your own text. So these are my field notes, okay? So September, what is this? The 7th, I believe it is, 2020, right? Today, I am teaching the very first overview webinar of ATLAS.ti 9 Windows. I hope participants are enjoying it. And I will add a smile because I don't know how to add an emoticon, and I don't know if that can be done. And that is the text, so you will save it, and now you have a new document that you typed. I will now explore what I have done. So let me take a look at my code list. All of my codes of the project, you see, I colored them green, blue, red, and so on. I grouped them together in groups according to topics, community health agents. All of the codes have to do with fruits, with funding, with health centers, local funding, geolocations in Rio de Janeiro, church, dentist, food, hospital, park, and services. So this grouping is important because it allows you to focus your attention on specific conceptual domains. For example, what has been said regarding health centers, and how do you do that? You select, drag and drop into the left side, and write the name of code group. You see? So let's say that you have already coded some, and you would like to take a look at what is it that is being said in regards to a given topic, and the topic represented in the form of a code. In the navigator, which is the left side panel, open the list of codes by clicking on the triangle next to codes, and there you're going to see all of the codes that you have already created. I want to know what is it that I have found so far in regards to the code funding foreign. There are 4 quotations linked to it, I see. I double click on that code, and a window opens up, and that window shows me the 4 quotations that are linked to that selected code. And it tells me also what are the codes that are linked to each one of those quotations, in addition to the selected code funding foreign. I double click on the first one, and the quotation is shown in context. Now this is important because I may determine that I selected too much text. I will simply adjust the size of the quotation. You see that? So that is one of the things that you do when you revisit your quotations in context. Okay, what else can you do here? Well, you may determine that you don't have all of the codes that you need linked to this quotation, so you will click on Apply Codes. And you will select whichever code you want to select. I will just select anything here. And I will click on plus, and now that code that I selected has been linked to this quotation. You see? And at the same time, you may decide to create an output in Excel of one of those quotations or a selection of them or all of them. Excel export, and that will create a table that will show you these quotations, which is not different from other tables that you can create as outputs in Excel. It gives you the choice of selecting what you would like the table to contain. Each one of these options corresponds to a column in the table. And let's take a look at what we have now as an output. We have that quotation 32 is a unique ID. This is the name of the person. It's somebody interviewed in Guatemala in an urban location, gender female, 2025. Yes, I want to know that, right? What did the person actually say there? This. What are my reflections? Well, not very rich. I just wrote an insights and so on. So I certainly have to go back to that. And the codes that I linked to that quotation. So this can be a very useful report. What else do we have? Well, you can ask ATLAS.ti, ATLAS.ti, why don't you give me the word cloud of this document? This is the word cloud of the document. Now, you may also ask the program, let me add to this word cloud the following documents, and always has to be text, okay? You cannot, of course, have a photograph, a video, audio, or map. The program will not be able to count words in those documents because those documents do not have words, they are images. And there you have it. This can be done as a word cloud, but you also have the option of doing this in Excel. Let me eliminate from view all of the words whose frequencies are below 16, right? So there are a number of things you can do. You can also tell the program, ATLAS.ti, do not count the following words, or ATLAS.ti, only count the following words. And this is a quantitative view, right? It just gives an idea of how much words are used. But what if you want to examine the words in context? So I wonder, the word health, which shows 58 times in the selected documents. Well, let me search for that in context. And this gives me a list of all of the places, all of the instances in which the word health has been used in the selected documents. Let me go to this one, double click, and I see the word highlighted for you, right? So that is the context within which participants are using that particular word. Let's take a look now at what we call search and code tools. Under search and code on the top menu, you're going to find 4 tools: text search, expert search, named entity recognition, and sentiment analysis. So all of these tools allow you to specify text that ATLAS.ti is going to search for, and then you will automatically code based on the results of that search. The first one is called text search. You can think of it as a simple search. You will have to select either individual documents of the project or document groups. I will select 2 document groups, continue, and here I will determine whether to look for the text in paragraphs, sentences, words, or exact matches, and I will write down the word health. I want to look for health. I can combine health with other words using the and or Boolean operators, and at the same time I can include in the search synonyms of the word health, and I will include the following synonyms. Let me see: healthy, ill. And I can select many. ATLAS.ti is giving me 237 options, so that is rather powerful. Include inflected forms. Find all inflected forms of a word. For example, searching for paragraphs with run will automatically include paragraphs with running, runs, and ran. Also, I can do this coding and the searching and coding using a powerful machine learning model, which you have to install. But ATLAS.ti comes already with a machine learning model, but you can install a very advanced one which will use some space in your hard disk. Now I will go to results, and here we have the results that ATLAS.ti found, and I have a number of choices. One is I select quotation 259 that has the word health, and I can decide now what do I do with this. Do I code this with another code, healthy, for example, double click, and that has been attached to that particular quotation. I can select a number of those with control. You see, so you have the choice of exploring these, and once you do that, you will go to apply codes, and here you are going to specify what codes you would like to apply to the selected segments, the segments that I selected in that text search window. And I will apply the word or the code healthy, double click. Now healthy has been applied to all of the segments that I selected. Healthy, 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 and so on. Small preview for the segments and quotations, and then large preview as well. In case the segment includes too much text, then you may want to try the large preview. The second tool is expert search, and that gives you the possibility or the opportunity of combining words with words in multiple ways. I will select two document groups, and here I will also look in paragraphs, and I am going to look for the following combination: health center, and I want whatever is found that includes those two words together. Now the text below will give you a number of different examples of how you can structure your searches. Show results, and here it showed me 30 paragraphs containing that combination health center, you see that? And the same as I did before, I select individual paragraphs, and I will then determine how to code them. You know, you can select one by one or a whole bunch of them at once, after reading them, of course, and then you go to apply codes, and you are going to specify how you want to code this. So the code health centers, double click on that, and that code has been now linked to all of those paragraphs that I selected. The next one is named entity recognition. Once again, I am going to select where to do the search, continue, And this is where ATLAS.ti is going to identify persons, locations, organizations, or miscellaneous. And I will determine how to code for whatever persons ATLAS.ti identified, whatever locations ATLAS.ti identified, organizations or miscellaneous. I can keep the code recommendations that ATLAS.ti is providing, or I may change that, right? I may change it, write any other text, or just modify the existing one. And I will go to continue here. And now the program found 49 entities, and it's recommending the coding for those entities. First, ACS, it determines it's an organization, and it's proposing that I code it with the code organization, org, ACS. Then the name of a community health agent program, it's telling me that it thinks that it's a person. Well, yes, I could accept that. So let me check that. Amazonia, it's saying that it's a location, and I agree with that. Brazil is a location as well, and I agree with the coding that it's proposing. Canada is a location. Now, Brazilian is not an organization. Maybe miscellaneous would be better, but I don't have to code it. You see, if I want to code it, I check it, but if I don't, I do not. CDC, organization, China, location, and so on. So I have to go through this and select the matches that ATLAS.ti found, and then proceed to show the results. And here it found 6 paragraphs containing named entity types, location, organization, and persons. So the first one, Amazonia and Brazil. So it's asking me whether I want to apply the code location Brazil. I will say apply that code. Then it found the next one in paragraph 13 in document number 4. What is this proposing? Canada? Yes, I will do it. And so on. So you go through each one of these and you determine whether you want to code with the proposed codes that the program is giving you. Let's take a look now at sentiment analysis. For this explanation, I created a document, number 20, satisfaction, that precisely gives examples of positive, neutral, and negative sentiments. I will go to search and code, sentiment analysis, and I will ask ATLAS.ti to look for this in that particular document, number 20. I will select it, continue. So ATLAS.ti is going to look for 3 sentiment categories: positive, neutral, and negative. But you can determine whether you want to look for those 3, only for 2, only for 1. So you will select whatever you want of these 3 options. Now, when ATLAS.ti finds something that it considers to be positive, it will recommend that you code it with the code called positive. You can change this and name it any way you want. But let me keep it the way that ATLAS.ti is proposing. Whenever it finds something that it considers to be neutral, it will apply to it the code neutral, and if it finds something that it considers to be negative, it will propose. Really, it's not that it's going to apply it, it's going to propose the code negative, and the decision about whether or not to apply it is yours. Also, you can use a powerful machine learning model, which I already installed, show results. So we have the first one, John, I'm so happy with my life. It has been good. I have a good family, a great job, and live in a nice place. So I coded that before with the code satisfied. And ATLAS.ti is proposing that I also code it with the code positive, which I will do. I will click on that code. And now that quotation has two codes, positive and satisfied. The next one, Susan, my life has been complex. Although I have a good job, I have not been able to build a family. I need to work on that. I coded that with conflictive view. And ATLAS.ti is proposing the code positive. And I do not agree with that. Therefore, I am not going to use it. I am not going to click on the code. Then the next one, Mary, I go through phases of satisfaction and frustration. There is satisfaction in my professional accomplishments, but frustration because I do not think I have been treated fairly. So I coded that with the code conflictive view. And ATLAS.ti, the models, the machine learning models, are recommending the code negative. I do not agree with that. Okay, I do not think it's negative. I think that it's conflictive. Peter, I do not think I have ever experienced happiness. ATLAS.ti is recommending neutral. I coded that with unsatisfied. I do not think it is neutral. Therefore, I am not going to use the code that ATLAS.ti is proposing. And Richard, I have not experienced happiness. Well, here we have agreement. I coded that with unsatisfied, and ATLAS.ti is proposing negative, so I will code it with negative. Okay? All right, now in the one that is conflictive view, let's say that I decide to use the code neutral. Apply codes neutral. So I also have that choice, right? Okay, so that is what sentiment analysis will do. And here is the product of that process. Let's talk now a little bit about qualitative visualizations in ATLAS.ti 9. By that we mean graphical representations of the relationships that we have created between different items of the project. So these visualizations, they provide us a systemic view of our work. So there are many different ways of approaching this, but I'm going to just show you a couple of them. So what are some of the typical things that we may want to do? So for example, I may be very interested in knowing how do two documents compare one with the other. So let's take a look at document number 3, right click on it, open network. This is the node that represents the document, right click on it. I want to know what is this individual talking about, and I represent that in the form of the codes that have been used in that document. So I right click, add neighbors, codes, layout, and now I want to compare this individual number 3 with participant or document number 2. I will drag and drop that document, and what do I see? I see that these two individuals, they share 5 codes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In other words, these two individuals are talking about, in common, funding national government, funding foreign, cultural competent services, matching funds, and CHA duties. And participant number 3 is talking about HC history and task, and those two codes are not used in document number 2. So those two, let's refer to them as topics, are not shared with the other individual. Now, ATLAS.ti has 11 automated layouts that allow us to visualize relationships in different ways. We can use any of these, or we can do this manually. So let's take a look at radial. That is very, very nice, and it clearly shows what are the codes that are being shared between these two individuals, hierarchical left to right, and this is also very clear, right? All right, so this is one representation of this qualitative visualization. What else you may want to see? Well, you may want to look at, let me open this document, at one quotation in a network. You see the quotation there in the document. Right click, open network, and now I see that quotation in a network view. So this is the document and all of the codes around it, and I see that the quotation that I selected is 248, and that quotation is coded with all of those codes. So let me see if I can get the radial. The radial, I think, is better because the quotation is at the center. Now from here you can build, you can go beyond, and you may wonder, well, let me see, view frequencies. So you may wonder, well, if participant number 2 is saying this in regards to partnerships, and I know that 2 more things were said about partnerships, well, what else has been said about partnerships? And you will insert the other quotations, this and this. These are 2 other participants. Let's update the layout. So you have control over how much to show, right? And the decision about what to show in a network will respond to your research questions, right? So what do you really need to know? So you can have a network that is highly complex, but that may not mean much. So you will always have to control the visualizations according to what you really need to represent. There are other visualizations. For example, I may say, by the way, this code here relates to this other code because one is associated with the other. You see that? So is associated with. So this is a semantic linkage that I create between 2 codes, and you can do that as well. And I can say, and this quotation for 1 is contradicting. Quotation 2.8, contradicting. Let's update the layout. And that is also a semantic linkage that you establish between 2 pieces of the discourse, between 2 quotations. So these are networks, these are graphical representations of how the different pieces of the project are connecting with each other in building a holistic view, I would say, of your data. And this network, this visualization, can be exported, export in a graphical file that you can insert into your Word document or PowerPoint, or you simply get a screenshot, make a screenshot of this. Let me go to under Home, Quotations, next to Managers, and let's see what I have. I have all of the codes of the project on the left side, and I have the list of quotations on the right side. So I may want to ask ATLAS.ti, what have people said in regards to funding? All of my codes that have to do with funding were written with a prefix representing that. right? And they are all colored with the same color. So it's easy for me to find them. I see them, and here I have options in terms of output. In Excel, and I would suggest to you that as you read these reports, you will now go ahead and start writing your memos, which is a narrative in which you represent your understanding of the data. Home, new entities, new memo. My understanding of funding processes. Okay? Insert the date and the time, and now I start making sense of what study participants said about the funding of their programs. Say yes, close. So that is something that I would suggest that you consider doing. Now, another thing you can do is not create the output in Excel, but rather as a report, which is a Word document, or really it's a narrative form that you can save as Word or PDF. What do you want it to include? You select the different options, create the report, generating the report, and here you have it. Right? So you have the choice of a report that looks in this way or that looks as a table. Let's now take a look at analysis. I will show you some of the analysis tools that ATLAS.ti provides. Under Analyze on the very top, you are going to click on Query Tool. And the Query Tool is a tool that allows us to interrogate our project by codes or combination of codes across documents. So, in other words, you're going to be asking ATLAS.ti, well, ATLAS.ti, tell me what have study participants said about a given topic, but you may also ask what have a particular set of study participants said about a given topic. So you see on top the code groups of our project and below the individual codes. So I want to ask ATLAS.ti, well, what have people said or study participants said about funding foreign? And that is given on the right side where you have the quotations that have been coded with that code. Now, you may combine funding foreign with another code. So I'm going to say funding foreign or partnerships. As you see, there is a Venn diagram that tells me what you get when you use the OR operator, that is a set or Boolean operator. It really is going to give you everything that you have coded with one code, and also will give you everything coded with the other code. And the output or the result is shown below. You may create an output in Excel of this result, which is equivalent or in the same form that I showed you before when I created an output of quotations in Excel. Now, I can combine codes with codes in different ways. ATLAS.ti gives me a set of operators of different kinds that allow me to combine codes with codes or code groups and code groups under different conditions. And now I want to ask ATLAS.ti something more interesting than this. Well, tell me what people said or study participants said about foreign funding and partnerships, but only what a subset of the participants said. And I want to I can either specify individual study participants or documents, or I may select a group of documents. So everybody that I interviewed in the site Brazil, what did they say about about those codes? or those topics. But I can also say everybody I interviewed in rural locations in Brazil. So for that, I combine one document group with another, and I get 3 quotations that meet the conditions of this query. So this is a query tool that you are going to be using regularly to retrieve data that has been coded. Another one is the Co-occurrence Explorer. So what do we mean by this? You may want to ask ATLAS.ti, when study participants are talking about funding foreign, which is a code, what else are they talking about? And ATLAS.ti tells you, well, they're also talking about partnerships. Now, what are they saying? Here, double click, and you go to the quotation in which those 2 codes are coexisting. You may also examine code co-occurrences in a table format, that is a matrix that you create that will give you numbers in terms of the number of times 2 codes coexist with each other in a quotation in the discourse, but also it will give you the actual quotations in which those 2 codes co-occur. So here I have a number of codes, all of the codes of the project, on top and below all of the codes of the project as well, so that you build a matrix like the one that I already built, that is going to give me the following information. When in my project documents I have used the code funding foreign, well, 4 times I have also used the code funding county level organization, 0 funding foreign. Well, it's the same code, right? So that's why it's empty. 4 times the code local. 4 times I have used the code matching funds. So when people talk about A, they have talked about B the following number of times. And then we have the other code history also co-occurring different number of times with a set of codes that I specified in this matrix. Now, this co-occurrence table comes with a diagram that we call the Sankey diagram. And the Sankey diagram is a visualization that shows the number of times that 2 codes co-occur with each other. So we have the code history. You can see the line, the thicker line goes to funding foreign, but also it goes to the code national government funding and these matching funds, and then a little bit narrower, local funding and funding county level organization. So this visualization gives you an idea of the number of times one code co-occurs with another, or one code coexists in the quotation with other codes. So you can play around with this visualization as you wish. In this case, it will adjust automatically. But what is interesting though is that if you click on a cell above, the number of times that the code history and foreign funding co-occur, it's 8. And if I click on that cell, it will show me on the right side the actual quotations. The quotation for history number 3.1, it co-occurs with quotation 3.2, which is coded by funding foreign. Now that is also represented in the Sankey diagram because you see the line that is highlighted, right? If I highlight a line in the Sankey diagram, it shows in the matrix as well, number 4, that is the intersection between history and partnerships. And you see on the right side the actual quotation. So you can go one by one. Now this Sankey diagram, you can export it, print diagram, and you can play with different visualizations, with different different types of visualization. So I will leave this this up to you to experiment with. Okay, all right. Another analysis tool is the code document table, which is really a code frequency tool. So the code document table will give us two pieces of information. One is how much are study participants talking about a given topic, and the other one is whether or not study participants are talking about a given topic or a set of topics. So let me ask ATLAS.ti the following question. Well, I want to know how much are people talking about funding, comparing participants from Brazil and Guatemala. So I have that there are 7 references to funding by participants from Brazil and 5 from Guatemala. If I click on a cell, the quotations will show on the right side, and you can create an output in Excel. And below is a Sankey diagram representing this combination or this matrix. So let me combine this with services and with health centers. Now, I may want to ask another question to ATLAS.ti. These numbers, by the way, let me say it again if I haven't, they represent the number of quotations linked to a set of codes in a given document group. But if I want to ask another question, not the number of quotations, not how much has been said about the topic, but rather whether or not something has been said about the topic. For that, I select binarize, and this is showing me a matrix that looks different from before. Now, we don't really have in this matrix the number of times people have talked about a given topic, but rather whether or not there has been a reference made to the topic. So we know that in the document group of reports, there is nothing said about funding. And we know that in Brazil and Guatemala, there is something said about funding because there is a little dot in those cells. Well, so these are the analysis tools that ATLAS.ti provides. I invite you to continue experimenting on your own. You can look at importing and exporting, what you find under tools and so on. So do this on your own, but I hope that I was able to give you an overview of what is important. Now, one thing before I forget, help, you can access here the quick tour, and here is when you can search for different keywords, and you are going to be able to get the information that you need. So this is extremely useful, very practical. And with that, I would like to close this session. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, goodbye.